We've all been there. You sit down to complete a task. Next thing you know, you open your email. You look through a couple emails, you look at the back at the time, and you see that a half hour has passed. It's almost ridiculous. So then you're like, wow, I didn't even start on the task that I was supposed to complete. Let me take a little break anyway before I start that task. And then you go over to social media. And then next thing you know, you're scrolling and scrolling and scrolling, probably for another half hour. And now an hour has gone by. That is a focus issue. It's many other things that come up with that as well outside of focus. Sometimes it's discipline, procrastination, maybe different reasons why you're avoiding the task. But I want to drill in today's episode around focusing, because one thing I know that everybody and their mama thinks they have is ADHD. And while there are people who have that, and I'm not belittling ADHD, many of us don't. We just need focus techniques to help us to be able to increase our focus, strengthen that skill, because that's what it is. It's a skill. So that's what we're going to get into in today's podcast episode. Welcome to the Fire Inside podcast, where we talk about all things personal development, time management, and the things you need to do to level up and become your highest self. And when I say become your highest self, I really just want you to live your best life. We are here for a finite amount of time. Obviously, I'm obsessed with time and time management and how we use our time and being intentional with it. So I want to be able to guide you on that journey. I'm your host, Sade Kelly. I'm a time management coach who specializes in helping ambitious people manage their time so they can balance their work, their wellness, and their relationships peacefully. I'm known for helping my clients 6x their goals, so achieve them 6 times faster, as well as save 28 or more hours in a week. And in today's episode, like I mentioned in the intro, we're going to talk about how to focus so you can get more done in less time, because who wouldn't want to be more productive, get things done, but do it in a shorter amount of time? So this topic really came to me because I was on a client call and I was showing him how I time block my schedule. And I always like to give examples of time block schedules so that clients have references. And while we were going through my base schedule, one thing that was interesting to him was that I have 2-hour blocks throughout my day. Now, the reason I started doing these 2-hour blocks throughout my day is really because I had a child and a lot of things totally changed in my life. And one of the things that changed in my life was that I didn't have a lot of deep work or focus time. And if you're familiar with Cal Newport, if you know his work, he talks a lot about deep work and shallow work, which I'll go into later in the episode. Essentially, deep work is when you have focused time set aside to work on the most important or the most urgent, or maybe important and urgent task of the day. And I started doing this, like I said, because I had the transitions in my life, and I just called it focus work. Like I would literally just have deep focus work time, 2 hours every morning, or maybe early afternoon, depending on what my day was going to look like, where I sat down and I worked on that thing full on focus. And he was so amazed by the concept. And he said, that's something I need to implement back into my lifestyle. And I thought, oh yeah, that's something everybody should have. So why don't I do a podcast episode on how we can increase our focus and some techniques we can use to basically establish or design our day in a way that optimizes our focus. Because what I've seen is if you're more focused, you can get things done way more quicker. Like let's say, for me, if I'm exhausted or I am unfocused, if I have TV playing in the background or a bunch of things going off on my phone or computer while I'm trying to focus on something, that same task can take me 2 hours when it usually takes me 30 minutes. So the power of focusing is that it shortens the amount of time that you can get something done because you're completely zoned in and you're knowing what you're going in to do. You are maintaining that focus steadily throughout the process, and then you are completing something. It's almost like you need to create that pressure and you need to get really zoned in and locked in. And that's something people always strive into, right? We always hear about people saying, I need to get locked in for 3 months. I need to get locked in for 6 months. If I just lock in and I just focus, I know I can get this done, but I'm struggling with distractions or different life circumstances that I'm going through and I'm struggling with this focus. Or maybe I think I have some underlying health challenges that are stopping me from focusing. So I want to talk about different ways that you can get more done in less time by increasing your focus. Now, focusing is a simple concept, but staying focused is much more complicated in practice, right? It's so easy to jump around from task to task to task. And when we jump around from task to task to task, what we notice is in studies that it actually adds on 23 minutes to your task. So let's say you start one task and then you get distracted and then you get back to that task. It actually takes you 23 minutes to really get back into what you were doing and locked in again. So now that same task that could have took you, 15 minutes is now taking you 15 minutes plus another 23 minutes. And I'm not even going to attempt to do that math, but I think that's like 30 something minutes. So it's taking you much longer than it would have if you just focused. So one of the first things that you have to do when you're trying to learn how to focus is you have to retrain your brain. Like you have to learn the skill of focusing. And one way I like to retrain my brain to focus more is actually to practice the art of focusing. So when you think about the brain, it's a muscle, right? And focus is a skill that gets stronger with practice. There's all these different cool parts of the brain that helps us to focus. So why don't we harness them to get us to focus more? So one way that I like to practice focusing is meditation. Now, I have talked about meditation in previous episodes. If you haven't started meditating while listening to this podcast, what are you doing? Start meditating. Use the Calm app, use the Headspace app, use the Aura app, whatever app makes you feel comfortable, or just pop on a YouTube video, sit down, do some breath work. But every time you meditate, you are practicing the art of focus. That is actually, shamelessly, I will admit that that's actually what got me into meditation. Of course, there's so many other health benefits, and it's helped me to feel more calm and to be more mindful. But at the end of the day, when I first started meditating, it was because I noticed, my focus is all over the place. And if I'm not drinking coffee or have a bunch of caffeine, I struggle with focusing. And I thought, why am I struggling so hard with focus? Why don't I just practice focusing more? And one of the hardest ways that I thought in my head to practice focusing was meditation, because it's so hard to clear your mind. Because I used to think meditation was all about, how can I clear my mind? How can I clear my mind? I need to get my mind to be still. But really, it's about learning how to ease your mind and focus on just being present and being in the moment. And when you think about meditation in that way, you're literally just teaching yourself how to practice the art of focusing, because meditation and mindfulness actually improves our attention span. And a study out of the University of California actually found that just 10 minutes of meditation per day increases your focus by 16%. So I hope all of that convinces you that it's time to start meditating, because if you don't practice it, you're going to not be as mindful, you're going to not be able to focus as much. So some other ways outside of meditation that I practically practice the art of focusing is things like letting myself be bored. Now, we live in a day and age where we can sit here and be on our phones, we could be on our laptop, we could have a movie playing and be cooking dinner. And sometimes maybe even on the phone, like doing the absolute most. Like, have you found yourself doing like 5 things at once? It's crazy. Why are we doing that? But the thing is, we're teaching ourselves to multitask. We're teaching ourselves to not focus on one thing at a time. And we're teaching ourselves how to do multiple things poorly instead of one thing greatly and one thing at a time, so that we can really be present. So one thing that I started doing was I started letting myself be bored, in the sense of, if I was on a grocery line and it was long, instead of being on my phone and scrolling and being like this at the grocery line like everybody else, I put my head up and I just looked around the store. I let myself people watch. I let myself be with my thoughts, which some of us sometimes are scared to be with our thoughts. That's a whole nother conversation that can go real deep. We're not going to get into that, but let yourself be with your thoughts. Let yourself just be present. You're on the line of the grocery store. Let yourself just gaze and be around. You're driving in the car. Let yourself just be in silence and just enjoy the road and do what you got to do. Or maybe if someone else is driving, don't be on your phone. Be present. Just find ways to let yourself be bored and get yourself used to not always mindlessly scrolling or having to be stimulated or doing something, because we live in a world where we are feeling like we always have to be constantly stimulated, and it is deeply affecting our focus. Another thing I do, and I kind of mentioned this already about how I was watching TV and then I was like cooking dinner and then I was on the phone, like basically just doing a lot of different things at once. I am doing my best, and me and my husband have joined forces to do this. When we're watching TV, we're not going to be doing something else. It's either we're watching TV and we're actively watching the TV, or we are actively working, and that's the only thing we're doing. And if we want to actively work and have something playing in the background, okay, have some music playing in the background. And music without lyrics really helps you to focus, because focus music is actually really great. It actually boosts you and helps you be in the present moment. I've used a lot of different ways of streaming music for focusing. Like Spotify has lo-fi beat playlists. They have focus music. They have different beats that you can use. I also have used Brain FM, which if I could find my code for them or my link for them, I'll put it in the show notes. There's a lot of different focus music that can also really help you. Outside of music, you can also start doing brain training games. So growing up, I used to do Sudoku. I don't know if anybody plays Sudoku or has played Sudoku in the past, but it's a really great game to train your brain. Like puzzles train your brain, memory games train your brain. All of these things start to strengthen your cognitive function, which then helps you to strengthen your attention span, which will help you to focus more. One simple thing you can do to practice the art of focusing is actually just setting a 2-minute timer and doing just a mindfulness pause. Every time you're switching in between a new task, let's say you're working on one project and then you're about to switch to the second, take a 2-minute break. And that's like the minimum amount of time. Sometimes you want to take a longer break depending on how strenuous the task was, but take a 2-minute break, just do some breath work, be fully in the moment, and then switch to the other task. I promise you're going to feel more energized. You're going to feel more calm. You're going to go into it more confident. And if you do that, come back to this video and let me know how it worked out for you, because I know that always works for me. The second tip I want to give is set your environment up for success. So when it comes to focusing, what I've seen clients do is they'll say, I want to be focused, but yet, like I said, they have all distracting things going on in their background, or maybe they have like 20 million tabs up. If that is you, stop doing that. One of the reasons why you're getting so distracted is because as soon as you open your laptop, you open up your email, or you have like a bunch of notifications going off on your phone and you don't put your phone on do not disturb. If you put your phone on do not disturb and it still doesn't work, put your phone in the closet. I used to be infamous for when I was focusing or trying to do something that I know I needed to be fully in, I would put my phone in a closet, get it away from me so I can't even pick it up. Or I would make sure that everything around me was silent, because I'm just someone who can focus really well in silence. If you're not someone like that, like I said, throw on some focus music or just set up your environment in a way that helps you to focus. If you're someone who wants to have like some healthy snacks around near you that helps you to kind of focus, then do that. Like think about ways that you can set up your environment for success. One thing I like to do, not have all those tabs open. So if you're someone who has had all those tabs open in the past, think about ways that you can just open up the tabs that you need. And if things come to mind or you think of things you want to look up, write it down. Have an ideas notebook. Just start collecting things in there. So that way you're not always like, oh, I need to look at this. I need to look at that. I need to look like, just jot it down, get it out of your head and get back to what you're doing. I promise you, if you're working on a project and you just have that thing open, or if you're trying to do a brainstorm and you just have that Word doc open and nothing else to distract you, you're going to get it done way quicker. And setting a timer while you do it will also help add that urgency and add that focus, and have the timer where you can see it, like it's in the corner of your computer or whatever, and you're looking at it and you're like, okay, I have 5 minutes to do this. Let me just make sure I zone in and really try to beat the clock. That always creates that urgency. And that's also kind of a way of the Pomodoro method, but there's so many different ways you can do the Pomodoro method. But the Pomodoro method is essentially when you focus for 20 to 25 minutes at a time. You take a break and then you do it again. And people love to use the Pomodoro timer. Like 2 million people use it. Like it's a big concept that works really well. I use it all the time when I know I'm in a place where I'm like, I need to focus, but I'm struggling to focus. I set a timer and get going. Another thing you can do to set your environment up for success is get rid of clutter, right? A lot of times we have all this clutter around us. Maybe our desk or the room we're in is super messy and dirty. Get rid of the clutter. Take 10 minutes, set a timer. Like we love timers on this podcast. Go ahead and just clean the room, right? Because clutter increases stress. It increases cognitive overload. Sometimes we don't think it's affecting us, but it absolutely is. It has been shown in so many studies that if you have a messy desk, if you have a messy room or a messy environment, you have a messy mind. It takes you longer to find things. It takes you longer to do things. And it's just not helpful to you focusing and getting things done quicker. So these are the things I want you to start doing. Putting your phone on do not disturb. And if you struggle with that, like I said, put your phone in the closet, get it out of the room. If you struggle even with that, start using apps like Stay Focused or Cold Turkey or Freedom. These are all web blockers that you can use on your computer or you can use on your phone, or you can even set app limits, which I know you could do on Android and on iPhones, and just make sure that you don't ignore the app limits, but do your best to get rid of the distractions. This is going to take also some discipline when it comes to getting rid of distractions and clutter. You're going to have to actually push yourself to do things. And the best way to start pushing yourself to do things is, like we talked about in previous episodes, episodes. Use the 5-second rule, or just getting yourself out of that overthinking and getting yourself to take action. And while planning is super important, many times we need to just act and take action, because we learn more from not being afraid to look stupid. We learn more from actually doing the thing and getting results and getting some feedback, even if it isn't the results we wanted, and then moving forward. So if that is you, start pushing yourself to take action. If you know there's certain things you're not doing that's affecting your focus, there's certain things you're doing that's making you distracted, get to taking action. Do the things you need to do to be more focused. Literally just asking yourself, how can I be more focused in this moment? How can I be less distracted in this moment? And then when the answer comes to your head, because it is, if you sit there and just let it come into your head, it's going to come. Take the action. Don't overanalyze the answer. Don't think about, should I do this? Should I not? Should I consult somebody else? Do I need to ask 5,000 people if this is the right thing to do? Just take the action. Just try it. Take some notes, regroup, and then go from there. So far we've talked about make sure that you practice the art of focusing, set your environment up for success. The third tip I have for you is to use time blocking and focus sprints. So the reason I really love this is, like I mentioned earlier, I like to personally time block out 2 hours of deep work every single day. If I could get 4 hours, that's even better. That is a little bit harder because I'm a full-time mom as well as full-time business owner. But if you can, I would say get 4 hours of focus time throughout the day, and then 4 hours of shallow time throughout the day. And deep work is essentially when you do something that takes your full cognitive ability, full focus. It's something where you have to be drilled in and focused, where shallow work is lighter tasks that you don't need full focus for. So think like admin tasks, calls, things of that nature. So for me, I also like to plan those things around my energy too. So shallow work may be done later in the day. Deep work is probably done earlier in the day when I'm a little more energized and focused. Figure out when you are more energized and focused. And if you are sitting here like, I can't plug in 2 straight hours, at least try to do increments of 30 minutes or maybe an hour throughout your day, and block it off on your calendar. Don't allow people to book time or to take your time away from you, because you need to stop letting their emergencies become your urgencies. They are not. Start treating yourself like the boss that you are, no matter if you work for someone or not. You are the boss of your life. You are the captain of your ship. You are the captain of your soul, however you want to think about it. Start acting like it. Start taking the active actions that you need to take to block off 2 hours of focus time and get what you need to get done, and try to do it as the earliest part of your day, because you'll feel more accomplished and then you'll feel happier and more excited to get things done throughout the day. So when it comes to the focus sprints, that's setting up those hours of uninterrupted time. When it comes to time blocking, I believe we talked about this on this podcast, but to reiterate time blocking, if you haven't heard of what time blocking is, I like to think of it as setting meetings for each of your tasks. So that is when you take a task that you have for the day, your main priorities, and you plug it into a certain time of the day that you're going to do it. So that's literally taking like, all right, I need to do my morning routine. I'm going to do it on this time of the day. I need to do my PowerPoint for this project. I'm going to do it at this point of the day. I need to create content. I'm going to do it at this point in the day. And I literally just recommend putting it into a calendar, really creating space in your life for the things you want to get done, because whatever doesn't get planned typically does not happen. So the things you want to get happen, those priorities that will make you feel easeful at the end of the day, to make you feel like you checked it off, make sure you're creating space in your schedule for them. Because the biggest hindrance that I see happens with people is that they have all these priorities for the day and it's just in a list form and there's no time dedicated to them. So then what happens is they think they have this big capacity that they don't have, because they haven't allocated the task to their actual capacity, so they can see, okay, here's how much time I realistically have in between meetings and commuting and getting dressed and getting ready, and here's all the tasks that I have to do. So how can I fit it into the day that I already know I'm about to have? It's great to have an ideal schedule, but you want to make sure you're tailoring your ideal schedule to your lifestyle day and day. And that is through time blocking. But another thing that I see that hinders people is they have this thing called attention residue, right? It's when you switch tasks, part of your brain sometimes feels stuck on whatever you were just doing, especially if you didn't finish the task. I know there's some people who was like, I need to finish the task, otherwise I don't feel like I can move on. If that is you, use the ideas notebook that I talked about. Really get things out of your head. So when you're switching in between tasks, even if you haven't finished something and you know you need to go to the next thing, start offloading that cognitive load that you feel. Start writing everything down, write the unfinished steps down, write the things that are on your mind so it can clear your mind. I used to call this a worry list, and I used to do this with a lot of clients, and I've done it with myself in the past, where if I'm trying to go to sleep and I'm struggling to go to sleep because I'm like, oh, I have all these things on my mind, I get out a sheet of paper and I write the things down and I just release it off. Another thing you can do is a 60-second reset rule where you take a short break. So like we talked about, it could be 2 minutes, it could be 1 minute, it could be 5 minutes. You choose the time, but it should at least be a minute. And you sit, you stand up, you get away from your desk. Maybe you go and breathe and take some deep breaths. Maybe you go walk around for a minute, whatever you need to do to mentally transition. And I've done this a lot with my clients who are side hustlers, which most of my clients typically are someone who's working a job and building a business, has a whole other things going on in their lifestyle, right? They have kids, they have family, whatever it is, the different personal life activities that they're engaging in. But what they struggle with is trying to make that transition from they worked 9 to 5 and now they want to work 5 to 9, whether it's in the morning or in the night. And they're like, well, how can I find the energy? A lot of times it's because you need to actually decompress from the day and you need to take a moment to go for a walk, maybe do a quick workout, eat some dinner, relax and watch a show. Don't go overboard, of course, but find ways to transition from your day job into the business that you're trying to build, or find ways if you work a business all day or run a business all day, find ways to transition from running the business to your home life so that you can feel more easeful and you don't have like that attention residue where you're thinking about all the things you still need to do. Wrap it up into a nice little bow by doing this reset routine and planning for the next day or writing all those things, like I said, on a list to get them out of your mind. The last tip that I have for you when it comes to focusing and getting more done is to protect your energy. Focus requires energy, right? And of course, your energy is going to really be determined by your habits, how well of sleep you got, how you eat, how much water you're drinking, what you're doing throughout the day. Are you around negative influences? Are you around positive influences? Are you around people? Like, do you get charged by being alone? This is where it takes you doing some self-awareness techniques to figure out, where do I get energy from? Where do I source my energy from? What makes me feel most energetic? What doesn't? And this is something I work through with clients, like what tasks really light you up? What tasks don't? Can we delegate that off? If you can't delegate it off, can we put it at a time of day that makes sense for you? Can we group them together? Like there's so many different techniques, but you want to make sure that you're protecting your energy by getting the best sleep that you can. Now I know that is difficult, especially if you are a parent of young children like me. It can be so hard. Sometimes it's like I need to just nap throughout the day because I'm not going to get like a straight 7 hours or a straight 9 or whatever hours that I need throughout the night. So what I'll do is take strategic naps, right? And I'll probably nap with my son, or I'll try to do my best to get sleep just how I can throughout the day. But you really want to make sure that you are still prioritizing sleep. Even if you're in a difficult situation where you're being woken up throughout the night, how can you take more naps? How can you get rest in other ways if it's not sleep? Also, are you moving your body? Even if it's not going to the gym, are you going for a walk? Can you get a walking pad in your office? Can you walk up and down the stairs in your house? Can you go walk around the block in your neighborhood? Think about ways that or can you even clean your home? Like there's so many different ways that you can get walking in or energizing tasks, or just move your body. Can you put on a dance video? Can you put on some music and do a quick dance break? I had a client who used to love take dance breaks, kind of how she started her morning, and it really got her energized. Think of ways you can move your body, because moving your body increases your endorphins. It gets you just in a better mood. It makes you more happy, and it helps you to be more energetic and ready and prepared for whatever is the task that you're going to do next. It sounds silly, but I promise you, just putting on like songs that you like can help you get really focused and get in the groove. I know if I'm trying to plan for the week and I don't really feel like doing it, not only will I make sure I plan with my Goal Getters group, which we plan together every single Sunday. If you're interested in that, you should join, because it is an amazing group. I do bi-weekly workshops, as well as we plan every single week and we hold each other accountable. Make sure also that, I think I've talked about this already, so I'm not going to go too deep into it, that you're eating foods that support your energy as well. I like to go for the 80-20, like 80% healthy, 20% treats. And I said treats, not cheats, right? Because I think that's a big difference. But just make sure you're doing those things, because that's also going to increase your focus. I hope that this was helpful for you guys, and that you now know how to increase your energy, increase your focus, that you can get more done in less time. You can stop relying on caffeine to get you through, but instead you can rely on your habits and the skills that you are developing to just increase your deep focus. For your action item for this episode, I want you to pick one of the 4 focus methods and practice it this week. So is it going to be practicing the art of focusing? Is it going to be getting better at setting your environment up for success? Is it going to be using time blocking and focus sprints? Or is it going to be protecting your energy? Pick one, get started, and see how your focus increases this week. If you enjoyed this episode, be sure to like, comment, and subscribe, and share this podcast with someone who may need it. You never know if this is exactly what someone needed to boost their productivity and increase their mood in life this week. So go ahead and share this episode. And also, if you are struggling with time management, I would love for you to download my newest free guide on the 5 time management mistakes that ambitious women are making and what to do instead. I promise you this guide is going to break down the 5 biggest mistakes and how you can overcome them today so you can increase your time management and be more intentional with your time and just reclaim your time and use it better. So make sure to like, comment, and subscribe to this channel, and I will see you guys in the next episode. Take care. Bye.